I thank you, Paul, and I'm grateful to be here. And I'm grateful that you're taking a few minutes of your precious time, maybe even more than a few minutes, to hear our three stories that will introduce you to something that could be life changing. In effect, you've probably heard about the idea of being a coach. Maybe you've even had a coach. And perhaps that's one of the reasons you're saying, well, I think I'd like to be a coach. And those of you who haven't been a coach have said, I wonder if I could perhaps find a coach or use a coach. Well, what is this coaching stuff all about, anyhow? And some of you who are simply just curious because you say, well, this wouldn't affect me, but do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be a powerful and effective and a change making leader? Well, then I have news for you. If that's what you want to be, you may not be a formal coach, but you're going to have to learn how to use the coaching in your management and in your leadership. It's going to have to be part of who you are and what you do if you want to be successful working in the 21st century. And as you see, this is being brought to you by What It Takes Radio, which is my company, a podcasting and publishing company. And I leave the microphone right there to help you understand that into the world that's coming, the world that's here right now, you're also going to have to learn how to use the multimedia, the radio, the podcast, the video, the television. You're going to have to learn how to be what we call a performance leader and indeed a performance coach. And that's what this is all about. How to be a world-class performance coach. Perhaps in your organization, but it is in the business both of life and of work. How to be a world-class business performance coach. I'm going to tell you three stories. Three stories because storytelling is really the only effective means of communication. And if you're going to be a good coach, you're going to have to be a good storyteller. Story number one. Let me tell you a story. I didn't know how this could happen. I had worked so hard. I had been very good at what I did. I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't cheated on the company. I hadn't had an affair with a secretary or anything like that. I'd been really good at what I did. But then all of a sudden, my life crashed. And there I was in my mid-40s, and I remember the day. That's right, we were together in our little apartment, and it was a snowy and cold day in northern Minnesota, and we were kind of bleak, and we were cleaning up the kitchen table and trying to put things together, and I was going back to my desk because tomorrow was going to be another day of trying to make appointments and getting interviews and seeing if I could get my life back on track. And that's when all of a sudden my dear wife began to look at me, and then she threw the towel down on the floor and said, "This is exactly what I was hoping for when I married you 20 years ago. This is exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping that after 20 years of marriage, we would have no house, no car, no job, no money, broke, and a kid in college. That's exactly what I was hoping for." And then her sarcasm turned to sobbing and tears, and she left the apartment. She did come back, but even telling you that story, I can still feel a little bit of how I felt. I was a failure. There I was. And the people who I loved the most thought of me as a failure. Well, I had to start over. And what was I going to do? Well, I didn't know what to do. I was obviously just trying to find a job. Then I was trying to find work. And then I would just try to find a way to make an extra buck from time to time. Yeah, that's where I was. And then all of a sudden it hit me. why did this happen? Uh, why did this happen to me? And then I realized uh, I have to learn what it might be like, what it would take to actually be successful, because nobody had ever really taught me. I mean, I had gone to a good school, a good college and university, but I learned a lot of stuff. But here it was that one of the chief things in my life about how to be successful in life and business, nobody had ever taught me a class or a course or coached me or mentored me in anything about being successful in the marketplace. And so I was determined that I was going to do something about that. I was going to try and find out, what does it take to truly be successful in the world today? And so that's what I tried to do. And so I studied all I could and learned all I could. I read a lot of books, and I was very much surprised by the things that I was learning. I, I said, well, why didn't I ever learn this before? Why didn't someone ever teach me this before? I mean, I paid good money for a good education, but here are the things that I'm learning from successful people and people who've studied success in the past, and they've written books and done audio programs and video programs. And all of a sudden, I'm discovering things about how to be successful in life that I had never learned before. And then I discovered that not only are there things that you need to know and understandings you have to have, but there are people that it would be helpful to bring into your life. And so I decided that I was going to learn everything I could. And I also learned that there was something else that happened to me after I began to do some of the work that I had learned. Now, I still didn't have a full-time job, but I was still looking for one. But I had put all this stuff together, and I had given a presentation in our church one time about some of the things I was learning. And one of the gentlemen came up to me and said, "Stan, this is good stuff. I'm in the insurance business, and I think you ought to take some of this stuff you're learning, and you ought to take it into the marketplace. Our people in the insurance business could use this." And so I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Well, you come into my office, and I'm going to give you some names of some people that I think could help you, because they could use you, and it would be a win-win." And so he did. And he suggested that I call on these people. And because I had such a great recommendation, Dan Anderson was well respected in his business, very much so. And this was a good lesson for me. Whenever I called someone and said that, my friend Dan Anderson suggested that I call you, I learned a great lesson in life. Yeah, oftentimes it's who you know as well as what you know. And as a result of that, most of them were able to give me a listen. And that was a good lesson. And one of them, a young woman who was just kind of redoing her business, liked me and said, "You know what? I'm going to have you give that seminar to some of my clients and to some of the people that are working with me." And that's what I did. And I called it "How to Press Toward the Mark," how you can make your mark in life. And it went very well. And she particularly was taking a lot of notes on it. And then afterward, I was just so pleased. It went well. And she said, "Come into my office." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "This was really good." She said, "Stan, you told your story, and you're on the way back. And this is something you ought to teach others." She said, "But you know what? I don't like seminars. Seminars are a waste of time. I don't like them. There's going to be some people who ask stupid questions, and they'll talk about things that I'm not interested in. I don't want to go to a seminar, but you know what? I'm going to pay you. I'm going to get the money, and I'm going to pay you that uh, every week you're going to come in and you're going to teach this stuff to me, just you and me in my office. That's okay. And that's what we began to do. And about the fourth or fifth time, all of a sudden she looked at me and said, "You know what? I know what you are. I know what you are. You're one of those people they now call a business coach. That's right. You're a business coach." I had never even heard that term before. That kind of dates me, but it was a brand new idea. And all of a sudden I said, "Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll be a business coach." Later on, I learned some things about that. So more and more, I decided that it wasn't that I was a life coach, and it wasn't that I was just simply an idea coach. I had to be helpful in people's life, certainly, but in their business especially. And it had to be something that they could do so that they could have a better performance, so they could not only be better at what they did, that they could have a better business, and as they said, make better money. So that's what I found out. And so I became a coach. Now, one of the stories that I've taught people for many years, and this will date me, but it's the lesson that I think you need to know right now. One of the things I said was, "Hey, what do Tiger Woods?" And of course, at that time, he was a star on the golf circuit. What do Tiger Woods and Luciano Pavarotti, a world famous tenor, have in common? That's kind of a crazy question. What does a strong, young, athletic golf guy have to do with a kind of overweight and certainly a bit older Italian tenor? Well, here they are. First of all, they are both the very best at what they do. They're really good at what they do. That's right. Um, and because of that, they love what they do. They really love what they do, and that helps them get even better at what they do. So they love what they do. They're very good at what they do, and they make a lot of money. They have those three things in common, but they have something else in common. That's right. They both have coaches. That's right. Tiger Woods has a coach. In fact, he has a number of coaches. By the way, he's a better golf player than any of his coaches, but they know things that can help him be even better. And Luciano Pavarotti, world famous opera singer, he has a voice coach and a performance coach. And he even has a coach to help him decide what to wear and how to dress in his appearances. You see, the very best have a coach. Later on, I heard the story of that world famous basketball player. His name was Michael Jordan. Heard about him? And that one time he told the story, he said, "Well, uh, I'm very, very grateful. And if my coach, Coach Phil Jackson, if he ever leaves, I leave too. Because I cannot be the player I want to be if I don't have my coach." Well, there we go. So I hope this will help you see that perhaps that might be something you want to learn how to be and do for others. And it might be something that you decide, well, before I do that, maybe I need a coach myself. And that can be. And also, if you want to be a coach, we are one of the few people who say that we will guarantee you your first client, because you will learn how to be a coach by coaching yourself first. And then you will be able to share it with others. And you will attract more and more people because you will not only be a coach, you will be coaching yourself, and you'll be finding other people to coach you. And that's when good things begin to happen, when you have a circle of friends and affiliates and clients and colleagues, and you are all in the business of knowing how to be a good coach. And one of the things I learned right away was part of my problem was that I had never learned about being one of the 3%. That's right. I hadn't learned anything about the fact that uh, I had to be one of the 3% in life. And once I also learned that, everything began to change for me. And I think it might change for you. So, if you'll listen to story 2, I'm going to tell you the story of being one of the 3, being one of the 3% in life, in business, and in your service to others. That's next. Well, here we go, friends. Now we are on story number 2. As you will soon discover as you get into this kind of world of work, that oftentimes it is storytelling, which is really the only effective means of communication. And the fact is that after many years of coaching, part of my coaching was just telling stories about how I and other people had been able to handle situations and get better at who we are and what we did, and most importantly, how we served others. Please remember that, how we served others. Very famous saying, it's gone around in very many forms. If you want to get what you want, serve others, help them get what they want. And then, more likely than not, you will get what you want. So that's a little bit of an update as we go into story number 2, which is about the number 3, one of my favorite numbers. And you'll find out there are a variety of reasons for that, but let's begin. You see, as I finally was into it, I've got to find out, what did I miss? How can I be more successful? And I've obviously discovered that I need to be a coach. But if I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to also have to find people who will coach me. Well, the nice thing that happened was that as I began to coach others, they began to share with me some of their stories. And in effect, I had the wonderful opportunity to actually not only be able to help my clients in their lives, but they were actually very helpful to me in my own career of being what I hope would be eventually a world-class business performance coach. And one of the things that struck me was a work that Guy got from what was called Success Motivation. And it was run by a gentleman named Paul Meyer, who had been very successful in particularly the insurance and financial services, but certainly in the entrepreneurial business. And so he started this small company, and they had a rather unique way of teaching people. First of all, it goes back to those times where you actually had to buy a cassette. And the cassette was just that, a small little cassette. And many of you have them or seen them. And of course, if you're of my age and stage, you remember them. They were quite the deal at that time. And you put the cassette in your cassette player in your car so you could listen to it while you were driving, or you had a small player so you could listen to it. And it was a very strong and very well-performed audio program that was kind of captivating. At the same time, there was a small booklet that allowed you, if you wanted to read along as the performer gave you the words and inflection and energy and pause. Uh, they made sure it had all of those great performance elements. It wasn't just somebody reading a boring script. It was somebody who performed it and performed it well. And what they told us is that we had to do it 7 times. You see, have it 7 times. Well, I've listened to it twice now. Well, you got to listen to it 5 more times. And then eventually it'll become a part of you. What they called spaced repetition. And that was something they learned from the advertising industry, that if you want somebody to remember something, you can't just tell them once or twice or maybe 3 times. You have to tell them a number of times, perhaps even 7 before it begins to come into all of the things that are in our mind, spirit, and body. You know, we don't change easily. Most of us don't want to change. We'd like better things, but oftentimes we don't want to do what it takes to get better things. We'd like things to change without us having to change. And of course, now as a coach, you will know that probably is not going to happen. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you always got. If you want to change what you're going to get, you have to change what you're doing. And what I discovered was that his work was based a lot on the ideas of the gentleman named David McClelland, who, along with a number of people in the 1950s and early 60s, was asking that same question that I, unfortunately, 20, 30 years later, was asking. Why are people successful? And why am I not? And so they attempted to answer that question through a variety of research. And what I discovered was what I call the 3% formula. And it changed my life, because I then said, I want to be one of the 3. And what you're going to do if you become a coach is your job is to be one of the 3. And as you are leading others, if you're not just coaching them, if you, in effect, are coaching others, you're going to help them be one of the 3. And as my friend said, who wanted me to coach her, she said, I want to be one of the 3, and I want you to help everybody in my little company to be one of the 3. Because if they're one of the 3 and we're all one of the 3, we're going to have a real rip-roaring company. It'll really go. And you know what? That's what we did. And that's what happened. Here's what David McClelland, he said, in effect, that the real significant difference in success is not based on how good looking you are, or how rich you are, or how smart you are. Now, granted, those things help. You know, as one of my client friends said, well, you know, being rich, smart, good looking, that's kind of nice. Yeah. But what we discovered is that may help some people, but there was no significant difference between the people who were all of those things and, of course, people who had none of those things and yet had become very successful. And we all know people like that, smart, good-looking, gifted people who have all the advantages in life and they still wreck their lives. You all know people like that and certainly have heard about them. On the other hand, in effect, you know people who had none of those advantages and became incredibly successful. Here's what he said. Only 3% of the population have a powerful set of goals in their life. That's right. They set powerful goals. Now, you've heard that, but everybody talks about it, but hardly anybody does it. And what these 3% really have and do is they know deep inside what they really want out of life. They've done the work. They've really put it together. They've worked on increasing their confidence and self-awareness. They've really done the work of trying to understand others. They really know what is the purpose of life for them. And then they have gained, because of that, they've gained the confidence, the poise, the power to have the ability to overcome their fears and do things they had never done before, to take risks. So they have purpose and they have poise. And now they develop the power. And then they have a plan. They know what they want and they have a plan to get it. And it's written down and they visit it every day and they're studying and learning. They take 20 or 30 minutes every day to get smarter and better and more focused. They spend time putting good things in their heart, mind, and spirit. They listen to motivational messages all the time. They fill their mind with good stuff. And they continue to work the plan. And when they fall on their behind, they get back up and they press on. 3%. 10%. Okay. 10%, these are usually quite successful people. They have some good idea of what they want. And in effect, they are working toward it. They have some goals. Now, they're not nearly as clear and as focused. They're kind of fuzzy around the edge, but they have some ideas, some strong ideas of what they want, and they have the ability to work at it. And they're achieving things. 10% of the population. That's right. 60%, the vast majority of us, hopes, wants, wishes, that would be nice, someday I'm going to go back to school, someday I'd like to do this, someday, and their plan for success is it would be nice to win the lottery. The majority of people are that way. The world is full of people who are doing jobs that they never planned on doing. They never really wanted to do them. And I see people all the time, they're working hard and the job's okay, but it's not what they really had in mind when they were young and strong and ambitious. They just kind of deal with the day by, they've kind of lived life by good fortune and accident. 60%. Well, what does that leave? It leaves 27%. Yeah, clueless. They don't have a clue. They just try and deal with the day. Get through the week. Thank goodness it's Friday. Oh my God, it's Monday. And that's how they live, day by day. And in effect, no plans, no hopes, no real dreams, no energy. Now, a lot of this is because life took it out of them. Nobody taught them, nobody inspired them, nobody coached them, nobody encouraged them, and living a hard life just kind of beats you up sometime, and you just say, what the heck? That's the population. And what David McClellan discovered is the goal for you is to be one of the three. And it doesn't happen by accident. What are you right now? Are you a 3%er? Are you a 10%er? Are you a 60%er? Most of you are. Some of you are in the high 60%, but and some of you are said, sometimes I feel like I'm in the bottom. And in fact, I even had a very successful man say to me, I'm in the bottom. He said, I'm very successful, but you know what? I'm doing what everybody else wants me to do. I just am really, really good at doing what I'm told. I've never planned my own life in any way. And he put his head down and said, maybe I should stop doing what everybody else wants me to do and start doing what I want to do. And he said, could you help me? And I said, yes, I can. There we go. That's story number 2, about being one of the three. Now, You say you want to be a coach. Well, your first job is to seek to coach yourself so that you are truly one of those 3%. And then you have the joy and the delight and the opportunity to walk into the business world. Like my friend said, I've got 10 employees. I want every last one of them to know who they are, what they want. I want them to get rid of their fears. I want them to take responsibility for their own lives. I want them to be strong, confident, courageous, empowered, brave, people with a plan, with hopes, futures, with a smile on their face. I want them to be bright. I want them to walk tall. I want them to think well. I want them to be world class. Not just me. I want them to be that too. Would you help them be that way too? Well, my friend, that's the story. What are you? What do you want to be? How are you going to get there? And now, are you willing, as a world-class business performance coach, to help bring that kind of confidence, clarity, conviction into the lives of others? Well, if you are, maybe you're ready to start being a coach. And that's going to lead to what we call a state of being that will surprise you. That's right. You will be different. And because you are different, different not only in degree, but different in kind, you will find that life will go better for you. Well, there we go. And we will finish up with story number 3. That's next. Hope you will stay tuned as we finish up and then launch you into a whole new way of thinking and perhaps a whole new way of life. Join us. Now, as we often do, we continue with the story. Years ago, when I was just beginning my business, I did what all entrepreneurs have to do. You try and get recommendations, you call on people, seek to tell your story or make an offer and hope for a positive response. Well, I called one gentleman who had been recommended to me, and he immediately understood that I was selling. He quickly cut off my regular script of introduction and kindly but firmly said, "Stan, I know what you are doing. I do it myself. So Stan, just tell me, what you got?" There you go. In other words, Stan, get to the bottom line. What do I get if I buy from you or do what you want me to do? In many years of coaching others, I have discovered that there are probably about 7 answers to the question, what you got? And it's difficult to find an adequate term to describe or even categorize these results of a good ongoing coaching experience. So let's call them states of being. And it's a combination, obviously, of a state of mind and then, of course, a state of our performance. Hence, a state of being. Now, these will become clear as we describe them. So let's begin. First of all, greater clarity about what is true and what to do. That's right. In the midst of life's complexity, confusion, and chaos, clarity is gained about what to do. You see, focused conversations about goals and desires and intentions often bring simplicity and good ideas and solutions right into our busy situations. And I've found that the most profound and helpful question to many people is very simply, and what do you want? Now, that is where we start because you know what? Most people don't know what they want. Then the end of a good coaching conversation or experience is reflected in the statement, good. Now that's clear. Clarity. Then, number 2, greater awareness of human motivation and cause and effect. You see, in a coaching conversation, I often say, don't judge. Just notice now. Be aware. Focus on what is going on, not just on what you are doing. Hey, please tell me why that was a successful sale or presentation. Were you paying attention to it? Often I hear someone say, hey, Stan, I knew exactly what was going to happen next, and I was right. You know, Stan, I've really come to trust my gut and intuition. Hey, I really did connect the dots, and it was obvious what to do. You know, I'm really getting pretty good at knowing how my behavior and my language affects others. Yes, these are examples of the vital but subtle state of being that we have discovered in many highly successful people. That's right. They have greater awareness of what is going on and what is true and what is not and what to do. And so they focus their energy. Number 3, more energy for greater activity and vitality. If this state of being is not achieved, nothing in consequence will happen in a coaching experience. That's right, energy. Personal energy is the capacity for vigorous activity, intensity, and the power of attraction. Energy comes from good rest, good exercise, eating well, and a state of optimism. It also comes from a product of the first 2 states. Greater clarity and awareness is empowering, and that feeling drives us forward with more energy. When our bodies and minds feel and express personal energy, good things happen. We often attract good opportunities and helpful people into our life. I know that our energy levels are the keys to achieving many, many of our goals. So I challenge clients, exercise, rest, drink less alcohol, dress well, pick up the pace, smile, read more books and watch less TV, pray for and care for others. Be aware of your energy output because that is a fundamental way to stand out in the marketplaces of life and business today. Here's a summary statement that I often make. Coaching is about creating, directing, and sustaining personal energy. It is one of our greatest challenges, and we try and help you do and be just that. And we want you to be useful, very useful by being effective and creative. Unfortunately, many people are just kind of passive in their lives and work. They kind of go with the flow. They do only what they have to do, and they merely react to life. Well, nothing great happens from living such a lifestyle. Others are very active, and they do things, but being active does not mean that things changed or that other things were created. Changing things that are important is being effective. Coming up with new ideas and building things that are helpful and useful is creative. Coaching is to help us be far more useful to ourselves, our organization, and maybe even our world by being more effective and more effective. In coaching, I often say, okay, what changed? Was it helpful? What effect did that have? Are you pleased with the result? Tell me why. That's what we mean by effective. And to do so, we are also called to stretch our creative efforts to do things to help us grow artistically, intellectually, and professionally. I often say that one of the goals of a coaching experience is to go from being a watcher to a doer, to a change maker, to a creator. That's being useful. Now, next, we've got to be more influential. We are through the power of attraction and persuasion. That's what we want to do. You see, effective people who want to make a difference must be able to influence others. That's right. They need to become more persuasive. And learning to promote good things and good ideas and persuade others is one of the key performing arts that we hope to enhance in every coaching experience. We want that to be part of your life. And related to persuasion is the almost mystical concept, we hear it all the time, attraction. And in many coaching programs, one of the major goals is called greater personal attraction. Now, sometimes that's just fake stuff, but if used in the best sense of the word, I agree. Here is how it works, hopefully. If you have greater clarity and a clear focus with high awareness, combined with high energy and demonstrated by useful creativity, people will be attracted to you. They will come under your circle of influence and are subject to your persuasive giftedness. That's leadership power. This kind of leadership is not defined by the power that you have or your authority or your position or your role, but by being a thought leader, an idea generator, and an inspiration to others. It is about being influential. Now, is this description beginning to remind you of people you admire and follow and like? Good, because the coaching experience is to help you become the kind of person you want to be, that kind of person you admire. And then, fruitful. Being fruitful is the key to real life results and financial wherewithal. And the bottom line is, he said with a slightly skeptical smile to me, okay, Stan, how will your coaching help me make more money? Make more money. Well, that is often the question. Hey, will all this coaching stuff help us be more productive and more effective and make more money? Well, it can, and in many cases, it must. But to do that, we must embrace being fruitful. Fruitful is one of my favorite coaching expressions. It is an old spiritual expression. Now, in the ancient Hebrew scriptures, we are told to be fruitful, to go forth and multiply. Now, to me, this is more than a call to human procreation. It is the essence of life. To be fruitful is to be more than thoughtful, inspirational, motivational, educational, or even useful. Fruitful means real things have been produced and real things have been achieved. For example, when I have an apple, it's a piece of fruit in my hand. It is real stuff. It's not an idea, it's real stuff. It's the result of somebody worked hard, labor and nurture, and made the apple come forward. It has real value. I can eat it for its nutritional and life-giving value. Hey, I can sell it to another person for money because it has financial value. But fruitful means even more. Inside, the apple has seeds in it for growing new apples, many new apples. Fruitful means there is a potential for new life and growth. This one apple can make thousands of apples. We can multiply our results. Third, fruit is generally sweet. Sweet is something pleasant to the mind and feelings. There are things that we seek and need that are indeed the sweet spots of life. There we go. In summary, that is fruitful. It's real, it's life-giving, and it's sweet. Now, please let that meaning and mystery of the word fruitful be the metaphor for the sixth state of being in the coaching experience. Now, the coaching experience, if successful in our projects, may help us to make more money. That's a legitimate metric. We want to be fruitful, productive, and make more money. But money may not be the metric, and rightly so. But then, what is the metric? That's what we seek to discover for each person in a coaching experience. What is the real thing? Well, serenity. Number 7, serenity is the personal power to be at peace. The 7th state is one we would all love to possess, and in some cases actually comes to us. It is serenity. Serenity is to be unaffected by disturbance, to be tranquil, unruffled, and calm. There's an old essay that gives a feeling, a description of the serenity state, and it's from what is called, now listen, The Majesty of Calmness by William George Jordan. Look it up. Here's just the brief beginning. Calmness is the rarest quality in human life. It is the poise of a great nature in harmony with itself and its ideals. It is the moral atmosphere of a life that is well-centered and well-grounded, that is self-reliant and self-controlled. Calmness is singleness of purpose, absolute confidence, and conscious power ready to be focused in an instant to meet any crisis. That is serenity, and it is the goal of the 7th state of the coaching experiment. Well, to sum up, the 7 states. Number 1, greater clarity. 2, greater awareness. 3, more energy. 4, very useful. 5, more influential. 6, fruitful. And 7, serenity. And there you have what you got. Well, thank you for that. And now just give me a few more minutes to make it a little more personal and perhaps bring it home to you and to me, so perhaps we can come together. Yeah, well, that's what we got. We've been able to help other people bring those qualities into their life. And we believe that once you have some of those states of being, life works a whole lot better. And now you can embrace a whole lot of projects, many new challenges. And as I often say, when you actually have this sense of serenity, there's a wonderful thing that happens. Many of you become absolutely fearless. Yeah, you know that all will be well. And that even if things go poorly, you have the confidence and the ability to get back up and make it happen again. You have a deep sense that you are not fully in control of almost anything, but you are fully in control of how you respond to people and how you can make things happen. You gain that sense of strong confidence and awareness, almost fearlessness, that can make you an inspiration to others. And guess what? You're going to start attracting people who want to be coached and mentored. That's right. When you have these qualities in your life, you'll have no problem finding people who want help. Many of them will be looking for you. And of course, that is what we call the power of attraction. So there we go. We are open to do what you want us to do to help you. We can coach you, and we'll be glad to do that. In many ways, we can do that. We can coach you so that you truly can be a coach. We have a first-rate teaching, coaching, and mentoring program that will help you be a world-class business performance coach. We can do that. And if there is a project that you know you need help with in your organization, we can come alongside of you in your organization when you have a major project, something you have to do, want to do, it's important to do, and we can be there to help coach you and to coach your colleagues through this major, perhaps life-changing, business-changing, even money-making project, we can be there to be by your side and help make it happen. Making good things happen is what we do, and I think we do it well. I'm Stan Hustad, along with all of my colleagues. I trust that you will give us the chance, perhaps an audition, to show you how we can make life better, make business better for you, starting now. Until then, bye for now.